Welcome to another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I'm your host, Kelli Melissa Reinhardt, and as with every single week, I am always excited about my guest, but more so because she is on my board and we are in studio and we have lots to talk about because both mental health professionals, and it's just going to be great. So without further ado, let me properly introduce. So Jolisa is a licensed clinical social worker. She's certified clinical trauma professional and trauma recovery life coach. Jolisa received her bachelor's in psychology from Bethune. All right. Bethune-Cookman University, and her master's in social work from Barry University, where she is currently pursuing her doctorate degree. That's so exciting.
So exciting.
Oh, that's a lot, though.
It is. One more year left, though.
Okay.
One more year. I'm
Not
done
too bad.
December of next year.
Wow.
So
I know, right? Yes. So tell the audience a little bit more about your story and what led you into wanting to be a mental health professional.
Ooh, my story. I'm just starting to share my story, actually. So this is going to be a first time I'm really starting to dive deeper into it. But it actually started with my dad.
Okay.
So I've spoke a little bit about this before. My dad, he served in the military, experienced a lot of childhood trauma growing up that he told us little pieces here and there growing up. He grew up in the foster care system, experienced a lot of abuse physically, emotionally, and went into the military at 17, 18, developed more PTSD from that experience. And he always wanted his kids to go into the military. Never did. But I ended up finding love for the brain and people's behaviors and things he would do as we were growing up didn't make sense. But as I got older, I'm like, that's abnormal. That's not right. So fell in love with psychology. That's where I got my undergrad from. And then I went and served. And then I was like, I want to work in the foster care system because I grew up around a lot of foster care families and things like that. My parents are foster parents. My grandparents are foster parents.
Wow.
So we had a lot of foster kids come in. So I was like, I want to work in the foster care system. Make a long story tolerable, started working in the foster care system. I said, this isn't how I want to connect. But while I was working there, I found social work, and then from there it was like, oh, this is where I want to be, looking at the individual as a whole, the client in their environment, the person in their environment, and social work just became my thing.
Nice.
I get to do it all: mental health, foster care system, brain. It's just a plethora you can do with social work.
Yeah, definitely. And then so you got your master's also in social work?
My master's is in social work.
And your doctorate is in social work?
My doctorate is in social work, and I'm focusing on trauma and the brain. So I got some brain mapping there, and
cool. And I know, we're total brain dorks together. So, and I know, so Jolisa is part of the board for Make Mental Health Matter. We actually met through your brother. Your brother helped with a project that we did with Denver Impact. And he was actually the one that connected us. He was going to jump on the board, and then he's like, I think this is more my sister's realm.
Shout out to my baby bro.
Yeah. Thanks for looking at. And I know you're in Florida. So we do our board meetings via Zoom, which is easier, but the content, so knowing what you do now, obviously like social work, knowing about the brain, wanting to just understand why people do what they do, which that's what started getting me interested. I actually, so my degree, I have a a bachelor's in communication, but a minor in psychology.
Okay.
And it was a really great paperweight for many, many years. Of course, communication is always a thing that everybody does. But we focus more, it was like communication theory. So it was like knowing media and just all sorts of communication. It wasn't anything specific.
Right.
And I remember psychology because it wasn't towards the end of my degree that I really like started getting the teachers that I loved. And I was like, ooh, this is fascinating.
Right?
Yeah. I was like, I should have made that my degree instead of my minor, but I got a little bit of all the worlds. Thought about getting my master's, and then I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I didn't like school that much. But then, of course, now I have way more certifications than I ever possibly imagined.
Them certifications is big too. That's a lot of time too away.
Yes.
It's probably like, dang, I should probably went back for my master's with all these certifications.
Well, and one of my mentors, she's like, you have more education than most people with a doctorate. And I was like, okay, fair enough. You know, they're just in shorter chunks. I didn't have to go for years at a time. I got the same schooling in these short chunks. Times. So yeah. But yeah, I certification after certification, and I know you are also certified in mental health first aid.
Mental health first aid, trauma professional. There's different, again, I'm like you, just all these different certifications. You know, you get the beauty of certifications is like you get to just like see what's out there. And I love that you had communication and psychology, because when you were saying that, I was thinking like communication is a big part of psychology, like how you communicate. And, you know, even with my clients I work with, one of the biggest things we talk about is communication and lack of communication.
Yes.
So it ties in.
It does a lot
together.
I worked corporate for a really long time, and I was like, I'm not really using my degrees, right? And then, of course, now being in the mental health space, I use them all the time. So they're no longer really good paperweights.
How you talk with people, how you understand body language and all of that. That's a big part of it.
It's huge. And I think that is part of what we don't talk about, right? Like, so I feel like society is shifting. I am really looking to our youth right now, because I think that there's going to be a lot of positive change, because they're so much more open about talking about their mental health, how they're feeling, really opening up this dynamic of like gender identity and all these things, right? And I know that you work with youth a lot.
I love youth. I actually prefer to work with youth because they're like sponges. And like just the brain, where their brain is developed right now, it's like they absorb so much. But if they have the right person there to show them, guide them, be there for them, provide that support, they'll absorb it so much and actually be able to take something from it and stick with them. So I love working with youth.
Yeah. Well, and so that actually, because I feel like I haven't really had, we've talked about youth on the show, but talking about the brain and the maturity or development, right? Like, I think that as adults, we forget, because our brains are fully developed, but when we're talking, or right, most of the time,
but yeah, you would hope,
right?
It's like,
what's happening? Yes,
what's happening?
But we like. So I know you have young kids also, but the young, and my son is 10. Sometimes I forget that his brain is not fully developed. I also, even with my older children, that I forget that their brains are still not fully developed. And so we assume, as parents, caregivers, people in the space with youth, is that they're going to understand everything that we're saying, which they don't.
And I'm guilty at that too. My daughter's 10 and she's very intelligent. A lot of our youth are very much so intelligent, and just the exposure that they have to like the internet, things like that, things we didn't, wasn't fully accessible to us growing up. We had to do some research, disconnect the phone landline to connect it to the, computer, wait until all the calls was gone and all that. But now they have it at their fingertips. Just, they can Google something, look up something, AI and everything that is developing. They have a lot. So they're very much so wise. They are. But then again, they're not. Because they're still only 10. And yes, they're seeing things. But my daughter, she's in like top of the class and performs high and does all that. So I'm like, okay, she should know that she should be doing simple things such as, you know, brushing her teeth and doing this, and I shouldn't be having to go behind you to, you know, clean up and, you know, do certain simple things like you would be like, you should know how to do. And just like you said, the brain development and all that, you should know this. You got to know. But it's like, no, she doesn't. And my husband always tell me, well, don't you got to be reminded sometimes to do things, or don't you have to be told to do things? So I have to take a step back and I got to be like, I do. You're right. And one of the biggest things I do that I take ownership of is I apologize to my kids if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I feel like that's big and that holds something for them. They're like, oh, well, you know, mommy makes mistakes too, or mommy is wrong too. So I try and show them that mommy is human too, and I make mistakes. And even all the youth that I work with, try and just let them know, like, I'm human too. Yes, I'm an adult and I don't know everything.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like that's why a lot of youth what's the word? Gravitate towards me. That's
gravitate.
Gravitate.
Yeah.
There's the word.
I know words. So
there we
hard.
go.
Yeah.
Gravitate towards me because it's just being authentically me and letting them know like I'm human too. Because I remember growing up, a lot of adults, they seem like they didn't make mistakes.
Oh,
you know, didn't take ownership of making a mistake, did no wrong and things like that. And I was just like, so now that I'm an adult, I got to be perfect. I got to have it all together, you know, and that's why I love when I do work with adults, healing the inner child. Because when we become adults, we can't be creative no more. We got to be serious. We got to go to work, pay the bills, do all this. No laughing, no play. It's always serious. And it's just like, what about the creativity? Yeah. That's a part of our brain too. We're creative, our imagination. When you having those intrusive thoughts and all of that, that's imagination. It's part of creativity. Look at all these movies and stuff. And you be like, oh, who came up with that? People are being creative. And that's what our brain needs to do too.
Yeah. I love that you do so talking about like inner child work, because I know it's not a newer term, but it is kind of a newer term. And people are starting to recognize that if we don't heal our past traumas, like you were talking about your dad, right? Like all these built things as he went through life and then military, and how it all just kind of keeps stacking. If we're not going through those layers to get down to that root cause, then it just keeps building and building and building and building, and something explodes, right? And we don't know why. So being able to get to that root cause, which is generally that child work, like understanding trauma. That's awesome.
Right, because a lot of the behaviors that we demonstrate as adults came from our childhood. So with a lot of my clients, I like to tap back in there. I don't want to stay stuck in that, because that's no longer you and who you are. But it's something that you have to acknowledge, address, and then say, okay, this is why I do that. It makes a little bit more sense. You may not get the why and understand, like, why did, you know, my mom act that way, or why did this happen to me? But, you know, it's like I love doing timelines with my clients. Like, okay, this happened when I was this age, and then this and this and this and this happened. And this is where I'm at now. But a lot of the work I do too, I love Dr. Daniel Amen.
Oh, yeah.
I love his work. And one of the things he says we should ask our clients, or even just ask yourself, is what is it that you want out of life? Ask yourself that. What is it that you want out of life? And then you ask yourself, what am I doing to get there now?
I love that.
Yeah. So I always write down, I'm like, okay, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm doing? You know, what do I need to be doing more of? What do I need to be doing less of? And write it down. Write it down. Don't just think about it in your head, because we have thousands of thoughts. I think it's like 2,000 thoughts cross our mind daily.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of thoughts.
It's like 7 billion in a second. Like it literally is like we have 7 billion thoughts going through our brain at seconds, right? But there's got to be a way that we can process all that information. And so it is, I mean, I guess in my brain, I'm like, no wonder a lot of people are getting diagnosed with ADHD, because we all do that. But I think that our focus is getting so narrowed due to technology, right? We had to be very patient when we were younger, because we had that dial up that took forever. We also had to go out and play. We didn't have the electronics. And it's funny because we always have those conversations in our houses like, I wonder about this. And we're like, oh, weird. We have this thing in our hand
Hey,
that
Alexa.
we can look it up. Yes. You're like, can you tell me all about this?
Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
Right. It's such a different society and culture. And I think that understanding still our brains is important as we talk about mental health.
Absolutely. The brain is a big part of it, the thoughts. And that's why I'm like so big on like brain health is one of the biggest things I'm looking into now. Because it's just so big, our thoughts. And there's that saying, our thoughts become our words, and then our thoughts become our actions, and then our actions become our habits. There's that, I can't remember it verbatim, but it's like it starts with a thought in your brain, and just connecting the neurons, and like again, all that.
Right? No, I love all that. Yeah, and the energy behind it, and all all the things. But
neuroplasticity,
which is so fascinating too. I know.
So
we're totally gonna geek out on the brain here for a minute.
Oh my God! I should have brought a little model of the brain.
Right.
Like this is your
yes,
is your amygdala and your hippocampus.
We need cortex. Like Bill Nye the Science Guy and have him do the brain.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool.
That would. And this is what happens when your neurons connect and you do neuroplasticity. That you practicing it over and over and over again and strengthening it. So just. Yeah,
all good stuff. We're going to go to our quick first sponsor break. But once we get back, I had a thought pop into my brain. And so we'll chat about that. So we'll be right back after this quick first sponsor break.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
1 in 8 people globally live with a mental disorder.
That's why empowering minds saves lives.
We need your help.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
Hi, my name is Dr. Constance Leland from Level Up Circle TV, where I elevate the world through education, one learner at a time. Join me on Fresh Takes at 9 a.m. Thursday, Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV. Have a fantastic day. Bye.
Are you crypto curious? Maybe it's a little too scary for you to get involved in all this crazy Bitcoin cryptocurrency stuff. Join me, your host, Charlie Stivers of Goose Live. Find us on Achieve TV Thursdays, noon Mountain Time, where we talk all things crypto.
1,917 people.
And like that, we're back. If you happen to just be joining the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much for tuning in, or whether you're listening or watching. My guest today, Jolisa, and I are just kind of geeking out a little bit on the brain and mental health and really about youth. How, it's as adults, sometimes we assume things. We have to remember that the brain is not fully developed and they don't fully understand, and we do have to teach them. A question that came into my head because you were talking about responsibility or taking actions, I'm like, where's come together brain? Taking responsibility for our actions. So as a human, as an adult with our kids, or if we're around youth, we have to show them that we take responsibility for them to learn it. Generally, youth through life, it's all learned behaviors, right? Like depending on what your parents modeled, what you got at school, all the things that are all together. But what do you, and maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't, or you can just, your thoughts, but what do you do with youth that don't take responsibility for their actions? Like, how can you help in the process? Or, some people are like black and white and there's zero gray area. So it's like, how do you get people to flex out of that to actually take responsibility? Like, what is your thought around that?
Ooh, that's big. Well, first of all, you brought up a great point. The brain is not fully developed until the age of 25, according to research. So for me with youth is what came to mind is diving a little bit deeper. Like, okay, where is the disconnect for the lack of responsibility? Is it it could go into a plethora of things. I think of youth that I've worked with who lack accountability. They never had nobody hold them accountable until, a certain time the behavior was, dismissed or the behavior was approved in a certain setting and it wasn't, addressed. It was like it was okay for them to do so now that they're in this different setting or they're older. And it, as you get older, again, it's like you're supposed to be looking a certain way, thinking a certain way, being a certain way, doing a certain way. But it's like they never had those steps to know at this certain age. And like even thinking some adults don't even take accountability. So it really just depends on, who, and I feel like going back, it's the role. Like what role are you in to help that youth bring forth that accountability?
Yeah.
Is a big thing that comes to mind for me. Like me as a therapist, yes, I have a certain amount of what's the word, weight dynamic when it comes to like what the youth take from me, but it could be like their coach or their parents or somebody who they may look up to or lean in on for advice or whatever the case may be. So I feel like it's the role, the people in their life. What is it that they're showing? Because like you said, a lot of the behaviors are learned behaviors, and if nobody's addressing it with them, they're going to think it's okay to do.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I certain like instances is like because at least throughout my time, right? Like I know I was that kid that I probably didn't take responsibility for anything, right? I was like the rebel that tried to not I've tried to do all the things that I wasn't supposed to do. And then as I move forward and getting all the certifications and the education and really understanding like why I do what I do, and then making that conscious effort to shift and adapt to different people. And I know, so also I've been listening to the to Mel Robbins, Let Them
theory. Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah. But it's also like I have these like battles kind of in my brain is like, okay, you can let them do what they want and the behaviors allow them, but you also, and you can allow yourself, right? But you also, there's got to be some accountability. And we can showcase that. And I think it really does matter. What is your role? Like that's pretty big.
It is. And I think too, like, because I know in the book she talks about let them, but she also talks about like let you. I believe I'm still finishing it up, but it's like you can still let that person know how you feel and what comes up, but that's you letting it, expressing yourself to say, okay, at least I told Kelli how I was feeling about the situation and what happened. Now am I going to allow that to control me? And I think that's a big thing too. Like you still hold on to whatever the situation is, and rather than letting it go. Like I said what I had to say. And there's that saying, like, if it bothers you more than 24 hours, then you got to speak up. You got to say something.
Yeah.
And I think that's big. But I know a part of that, and even speaking for me, is like the rejection feeling. Like feeling rejected, feeling, let down, feeling whatever you might feel when the person, and how the person responds. I don't want to hurt their feelings. And I think a lot of kids experience that too. They don't want to hurt their parents' feelings or, the caregiver, whoever, again, they look up to. They don't want to hurt their feeling about how they feel or whatever the case may be. So, or they don't want to disappoint them. And I think that goes into people pleasing. So
they don't want to get in trouble either.
That's a big, and you know what? Some kids nowadays don't even care about getting in trouble.
Really?
You'd be surprised. They don't even, I think it's more so like, and a part of them there might be like a little part like, oh, get in trouble. But then again, it's following through with the consequence that comes with trouble.
Oh, right.
Like, what does that mean? What does getting in trouble mean? Am I going to get a spanking? Am I going to get my phone taken? Okay. I can just log onto the computer and, communicate through my friends through the smart TV.
Yeah.
Okay, no TV. Okay, well, I'm going to find, again, there's so much at the hands of our youth nowadays. So it's following through with consequences, but telling them why it was wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing I lacked growing up it was always because I said so.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, because you said it, I'm going to still do it. Like you said, you was like, I'm going to still do it. So like, I want to see what it is. You're telling me I can't go here, but you're not telling me why I can't go here. So I'm going to just venture out and figure out why I can't be here.
Yeah.
And then I think it's a big thing too. Like parents, sometimes they like think they know. So it's like, oh, I'm going to still go. And whatever you said you thought was going to happen, it didn't happen. So I'm going to keep doing it again. And it's like, no. So me as a parent, I try and tell my kids, like, no, you can't do this because of this, and this.
I love that. Yeah.
So it's been working.
Yeah.
They ask questions. Kids are curious. Why? Why can't I do it?
Oh,
when? Why? Like,
I remember that phase. I'm like, I don't, do I even know? Like that's what, most of the time, like when my son went through the why phase, like I was like, I told him why, and then he's like, why? I was like, I just told you why, and then he'd say why, and I was like, do I even know why?
Yeah, you're not understanding. Like, tell me, what do you not? And one thing I do with my kids too is like repeat it back. Like even before I came here with my son, I was telling him something, and I was like, what did I say? Or do you understand what I said? Yes, mommy, or whatever. So what did I say? Just so I can make sure we understanding. And I don't know if that's like a therapy thing, because when I'm in my therapy sessions, I'm like, so what I'm hearing you say is, and I repeat it back, and then I'll be like, yes or no. Okay, so help me understand, because this is how I'm processing it. And that's not what you're saying, or that is what you're saying. And again, that goes back to communication.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I don't know.
I know. I love the through neurolinguistic programming, we learned parrot phrasing. So actually using somebody's words back to them. Because when I use your words, then that helps your brain clarify, like, is that really what
you're saying? I'm
saying? And it also helps clarify in my brain that I'm actually listening, right? And sometimes as I get older, I feel like sometimes it gets harder to do that. Because I think my brain is going into the next thing, at least with my clients. Sometimes I'm like, but it also brings me back to being able to listen, like really, truly listen. I do it with my son too now also. Main reason because we've had some challenges in school with him actually focusing and listening. And so I'm learning through this process that he is very much more of a visual learner. So if he's not looking, then he's probably not processing. So, and his brain is all over the place.
Yep.
So, I mean, he can sit and play video games for hours upon hours, but that's because he's looking at it and his focus is here. But when you say anything else, there's nothing else going on. So I had to actually talk to the teachers last year and be like, you have to make sure like he's looking at the board, like he's looking at you, he's processing. And so I do that now with him, is like, okay, what did I just say? And then having him repeat back to me. So I love that you said that, because I'm like, okay, good. I'm actually
I highly recommend parents do it. And just when you're talking to anybody, like even adults too, because I feel like, again, that's where that barrier comes in when it comes to communication, is you don't understand what I'm saying. So help me understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because this is what I'm hearing you say, and that's clearly not it. And then I see a lot of people get frustrated and they be like, well, you just won't understand. And you just, then they give up. And then it's just like, okay, so now we're both sitting here looking like, right, like what? So, and I love that you brought up school and talking with the teachers, your son's teachers, on, how he learns and things like that. Because sometimes what I've seen when I've worked in the school, a lot of parents like lack that, because again, their child acts different in the different settings at home than they do, at school. So I think like just learning like the kids' like style. Are they a kinesthetic learner, which is hands-on learning? Are they auditorial, so they hear better? They process better through hearing, or are they visual like your son? They got to see pictures and things like that. And teachers should do that, have all three so that every student can, learn something from it.
Yeah.
I try and do that with my college students.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I have a PowerPoint, and then we're going to write it out, talk about it, and, talk it through, turn-in talks, different things like that.
I love that. Well, and I, again, started learning that through NLP as I was getting all my certifications. And I always realize for me, like, I'm very kinesthetic, right?
Same.
I have to do the thing.
Have to do it too.
You could tell me till you're blue in the face, but
that's me too.
till I actually do it, I will not get anything. I'm more now that way too. Again, as I get older and like being premenopausal and like all the things, right? Like my brain just doesn't fire how it used to, or that's my belief right now. But
you probably got too many tabs open.
I feel like
yeah, that's what it is. With us as adults, I feel like we get so many we have so many tabs open. We miss on being present. And I'm speaking from me too, so I can definitely relate to you with that. It's like, we got to be here, we got to do that. You're an entrepreneur, you got a lot of roles and hats that you wear. So you're always thinking about the next thing you should be doing. And it's just like, oh, well, let me be present in this moment right now. I had to catch myself, even like I'm talking to myself too, because I'm like, oh my God, after I leave here, I got to go. My mom talked about put gas in the car, but like just even being here in this present moment with you, I'm like, I'm calm and I'm focused. So
yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I know like Jolisa knows a little bit more behind the scenes of the nonprofit itself. And I know that even our board meetings sometimes get very chaotic because we have like so much going on. But I have found, or I hope that lately it has been a little bit more focused, because the clarity pieces have been something that I'm like really trying to attach myself with to understand, like, what are we doing? How are we doing it? And I love that presence piece that you just talked about, because I do oftentimes, my brain gets so chaotic, my life gets so chaotic that like I can't be present. And I've been finding, even in family time or in self-care, right? Like I'm not present. And so that actually has been a big overarching theme that I'm like really trying to hone in, is that being present. So I love that you said that.
I'm guilty of it too. And I'll be like, wait, I'm supposed to be here like right now. Like my kids actually spent the summer with my parents. The whole summer. They were here about a month and a half.
Nice.
And then I had went, back to work, school, all the things that I do. And it took me, and it's sad to say, they were here, 6 weeks? It took me probably the last week to really do something for me. Because I'm always going. And my husband was like, when you just don't have time, or when you finally do have the time to do something, you're trying to find another thing to fill it with. Because I feel like I always have to. So I'm like, dang, my kids was gone 6 weeks. And on the last week, when it was time to finally come back and get them, because I got here Thursday, the first 3 days, I was like, oh, wow. Sitting on the couch, looking at the lake. We have a lake in the back of our house. I'm like, this is nice. I'm like, okay, the kids will be here next week. It's gone. I'm back in mommy mode. School starts, sports starts. But I just was always going, feeling like I always had to move. They need this. He needs that. Like, my clients need this needs that. And I was just, I struggled. I felt guilty. I felt like I always had to do something. But once I really sat with where I was like, this is nice. So I got to try and get that. I hate that word, try. Take that out your vocabulary.
Right.
I am going when we get back to Florida, I'm going to be intentional on just setting 5 to 10 minutes of just being present, and my prayers, my thoughts, my stretching, and all of that. So that's my intention for the end of the year.
I love that. And now that I know, I can keep you accountable.
Same for you.
Right. Yes,
Same
yes,
for you.
yes. We're going to go to our quick last sponsor break. But once we get back, we're going to chat even more about the brain and mental health and all the good stuff. So we'll be right back after this.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Kelli, host of the Make Mental Health Matter show, impact lives?
Number 1, awareness.
My story, however, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
2, conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community. It is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3, education.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
And like that, we're back again. Thank you for tuning into the Make Mental Health Matter show. If you're just joining, you're going to have to go back, because Jolisa and I have been talking about some awesome things. Yes. So we were talking about being present in the moment, also just understanding the brain, especially as we're talking about youth, because youth brains, the brain is not fully developed until 25, and now they're saying even 28, flexing to that part. But the other interesting part is once your brain is fully developed, then it actually starts disintegrating, not disintegrating. What, I don't know what the word is, but it starts going the opposite way, right?
What do they say, like retirement or something like that?
Yeah.
I know he speaks on, Dr. Amen speaks on that in his book.
Oh, yeah. Because I think I caught, it was like on public TV or something. I caught something that he was talking about, and I was like, ooh, this is really fascinating. So yes, amazing. He's really great. And then Joe Dispenza is another one that I think is so fascinating. He talked about being superhuman, because our brain is so powerful. He actually he healed his body. He was a paraplegic, so he broke something in his spine. I'm totally probably saying this wrong, but he was not able to move. He was paraplegic, and he re-healed his spine using his brain.
I feel like I've heard of something like that, a story.
Very interesting. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back into doing that. But our bodies do heal themselves. Our brain is connected to our nervous system, and just calming our nervous system. It's like your brain is powerful.
Very.
It's so powerful. I don't think people realize that.
No. And I think a lot, like what I talk about is like the mind and body are connected, therefore they affect each other. And I think a lot of people don't really think about, which is, I know, side note, but insurance, right? So insurance, we have mental health, which is our brain, and then we
Mhm.
have physical health. But the thing about it is our head is attached to our body. So they should be attached to insurance. I don't know.
Yeah,
Crazy. to think.
they're starting to do a little bit more with the mental aspect, but I think it's the stigma behind mental health and what it is and what it isn't. So I think that's the conversation us as mental health therapists, professionals, advocates, we're trying to have is like, no, we all have mental health.
Yes.
And it affects our physical health
Mm-hmm.
more than we realize it. In our thoughts and our thinking. And I was just reading this book called Don't Believe Everything You Think. Have you ever?
I haven't.
You haven't heard of it?
Yeah.
You should really look into it. And it talks about how, yes, we're supposed to have thoughts, but when we get into thinking, that's when we go into the downward spiral. We start overthinking, we start talking ourselves out of things, and then what happens, our body can shut down or our body can start hurting when we start just continuing to think about the situation, the problem, the pain, or whatever the case may be. I don't know if you ever like stumped your toe on the side of the bed or something like that. When you think about the pain, what happens?
I'm like,
it increases more, but when you start breathing and you start like thinking about something else, the pain decreases.
Yeah.
So just even being mindful of that, the more you think about something, you give energy to it, the powerful it gets. And that's, again, neuroplasticity.
Yes.
You start thinking about something more, you start doing something more, it grows. It's feeding the thought.
Yeah. No, and it is definitely, I mean, a lot of people, and that's why you shifted your words, right? The words that you use instead of that try, you talked about, take try out of your vocabulary because it is one of those. And I think the funniest part is like, or the funniest thing that I've heard is the pen, right? They're like, well, try to pick up that pen.
Mm-hmm.
You can't try to pick up the pen. You either pick up the pen or you don't, right? And so when we try to do things, then are we really actually doing it or not? So yeah, I think that shifting the words
mindset.
And instead of, so my guest last week, we were talking about fashion and where she wanted to take her fashion to. And I was not if, it's a when.
Right.
Yeah. So even the word shifting is important.
Growth mindset. I'm not doing this yet. I think that's a big word too. Like yet, when, how you talk to yourself is a big thing too. Because how you talk to yourself, I always think how you talk to yourself is how you allow others to talk to you as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I always say to people, I'm like, would you talk to your best friend the way that you talk to yourself?
And it's like, nope. I do that too with people. Like, what would you tell your best friend? Or the person, if you don't have a best friend, a person you genuinely care about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always easier though. That's easier said than done though. Like even as therapists, people be like, "Oh, you got it all together." No, I probably was just crying before I got.
I think every therapist needs a therapist,
and I do have a therapist.
Yes,
I do. I would definitely be rescheduling in my session, but yes, it's just like doctors. Doctor needs doctors too, But
yes,
absolutely, we all are just in a world where we're looking to survive and just make it.
Yeah. It is, and I know, so I want to shift just a smidget because I know that you do a lot of work with the Boys and Girls Club. That was actually one of the first, not first place we met, but one of the first place that I saw how you teach workshops.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the cool things that I loved, and I've thought of this before, was the plant.
Oh, yeah.
So growing the seed, and because like before I ever saw that, I had said what's buried is still alive, right? Like we maybe shove down our feelings, but it's still there, and eventually it's going to bubble up. And it's kind of like that seed is like when the seed is planted, it's eventually going to come up out of the roots. But I think planting seeds is another thing I talk a lot about, is with especially parents and youth, is we're not expecting them to know everything, but we're just planting the seeds, letting them know that when they're ready, they can come talk to us, whether youth or adults. But I love that you use that analogy too. So
I love using analogies. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about with like the kids and the being kinesthetic, auditorial, and visual. So with my workshops, I always want to give a key takeaway and like give you something to remember. So it's like, oh, when I went to this workshop, we talked about, planting seeds, and this is what I got from it. And this is my, takeaway. So I'm always going to be able to connect it. So my workshops are always going to be engaging. You're going to get up, you're going to challenge yourself, but you're going to have a key takeaway. So within that specific workshop, like you said, we had the plants, and we talked about each thing in life representing the soil and the sun and things like that. But you made me think too, along with planting the seeds, sometimes those negative thoughts that you have to, pull them. Those are like the weeds. You got to, root through the weeds and, pull the weeds out too. But it's still like roots, they're so grounded. So it starts with like the foundation and, again, having those healthy relationships and those healthy spaces and whatever that looks like, because it's different for everybody, so that you can plant those seeds. But in order for a seed to grow, what do you have to do?
You gotta give it water.
You gotta water it. So how are you watering the seeds and, pouring into it? Because a seed can be planted, but if it's not nourished, watered, it's not gonna grow. So how are you, pouring into yourself, pouring into your child, parents, teaching them to pour into their self? I know I'm guilty of always pouring or working to pour into my kids, but it's like, I'm not always going to be around. So how are they pouring into their self as well? And I think that's a big one, because, your son's getting ready to go to middle school. My daughter's getting ready to go to middle school. Middle school's a whole different breed, whole different level, even for my elementary or my second grader. How is he going to be able to pour into himself? Because mommy and daddy's not always going to be there.
Yes.
So
I know we still have one. He's going into 5th this year, but
same.
Yeah. I'm like, I keep thinking, I'm like, I keep thinking about that too. And I'm like, oh, like, because somebody said they're like, you're going to be the big dog on campus. And then I was talking to somebody else and they're like, it's so interesting how much they grow the 5th grade year. But I think that's the important part, is because we are future thinking of middle school, and like that dynamic starts to shift because you're big dog, then you're a little dog, and so school is an really interesting dynamic. But how do you get them to start pouring to themselves, which oh man, that my brain was like
so. Yeah, because like how? But first of all, I think like even us, we have to demonstrate to our kids, like, are we taking care of ourselves? Like, I know my daughter called me out and she was like, you're always on your computer. You're always typing. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And it's just like, I don't want my kids to always see me in front of a computer. So let me grab a book. Okay, let me go outside. Let's go to the park. Let me make sure I'm not on my phone. Because, kids, they'll tell you, tell you how it is. And there's some parents who like, get defensive. So I'm trying to make sure, I'm working, to make sure, like, let me not get defensive. This is what they see.
Yeah.
Mommy's always working. But, mommy's in school. Mommy works. Mommy has clients. Mommy does this. So I don't want them to get in their mind like, oh, I have to work. No. Let's go outside. Let's, play, and let's do something, watch a movie, turn everything off. Let's do games. And like, my kids love games.
Yes.
Like,
I love board games. We do board game nights.
Yes. So even getting better at that. But it's, our kids mimic what they see us do.
Absolutely.
So if they see us always on our device, they're going to want that.
Which, my son calls me out all the time.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you're always on your phone, Mom.
Yeah.
Like, okay, fair enough.
Fair enough. Let me like do something. So I think it's us showing them, but also allowing them to, figure out what they like to do. And I'm big on my kids having solitude. Like my daughter, I need time alone. That's fine. That's why you have your room. You go in your room. Your brother goes in his room. The baby will stay out here. Everybody just needs time for themselves. Do whatever you want within that time. Take a nap, watch TV, just stay here.
Yeah. Love that.
Yourself. So
I want to touch on something. So we have about 5-ish minutes, but I think it's important because with Make Mental Health Matter, right? Like a lot of when you and I first really started talking, and I know this could be a whole nother show too, but I like to touch on the aspects of like the BIPOC community versus, just because with all of everything that's happening right now in the world, right? Like there's a lot of scary things that are happening. And I think that people are very much like getting into their heads right now. But I think that it's a really important part of the conversation. And with mental health first aid, that's not different people. With Make Mental Health Matter, we are really all about like equality. We're all about, we're just humans, right? Like we're, at least my belief, right, is that we're all humans, no matter our gender, our race, our identity, right? All those things. But I also love to have the board to be very diverse. And that's a lot of like why I love so much input, because I don't understand like what or how it is on the other side. So just smidget if you want to sprinkle a little bit. And I know that that's like a whole different topic,
That's a
but
whole different touchy topic. It can be touchy, but I think it's more so like it's uncomfortable because people just, they don't know, or they don't care to know or want to know. So they don't want to know how it is. They use, their privileges, their advantages, whatever the case may be, and they just stick and run with that. Because again, it is different for me as a Black woman, my mental health, and all the other Black women's, indigenous, Hispanics, whatever backgrounds, everybody's experience is different. And the beauty of it, like you said, you're open and you want to hear like what that may be like, or what that may be, and how can we change it, make a difference? How can we address this population? What does that look like? And some people just aren't open to hearing that or caring for that.
Yeah.
Because of whatever reason.
Yeah. So what, if people are out there that are like, because again, the political climate right now, which I don't want to go into, but I also, it is very scary, right? Especially, and I of course am coming from a white female, blonde hair, blue eyed, right? Like, but also that in my space, like I have to understand, and I want to understand, like, so those people that are out there that are not that I'm like trying to, I don't want to like totally right. But those that are out there that are struggling and they're like, oh my gosh, am I gonna end up in like, because now we have the facilities and trying to bring back like insane asylums and all these things, right? And in the mental health space, you're like, what is happening? Because I feel like we've come so far and now we're just taking it all away.
Right. It's a
but
lack of education.
If anybody's out there that's just like super struggling, like what is something or a piece of advice or a recommendation that you could potentially give them?
I would say find community. Find your community and what your community looks like. There's a lot of resources out there. A lot of resources. You have access at your fingertips. There's websites such as Therapy for Black Girls, Therapy for Black Men, and there's oh my God, there's an inclusive therapy site where focus on LGBTQ communities. There's a plethora of us therapists out there with backgrounds, and we want to help you work through and find community for individuals who look like you and can relate to you, your experiences, and whatever it is that you're going through. But it's you doing the work to find that community. To be able to find that connection is a big thing, because it's out there. And yes, with everything political going on and all of that, that's there. But it's, again, education. I feel like it's finding your community, being educated, being open-minded too. And I think a lot of people are like closed off, and they struggle with validating or being open to somebody else's experience because it's not their experience, so they can't relate. So they just automatically shut off. Yeah. Don't ask, don't care to know. The media, I feel like, plays a big part in it as well. So I would even say like limiting your media exposure, because they can hype in on something and then it goes away the next week, and then here you are still stuck in that thought of whatever it may be. Yeah. So just, being mindful what you're feeding your brain.
For sure. And I love, I'm going to wrap it even back to when I first started, was the content that you make, especially on Instagram. She is fabulous. So you need to go, like, just the tips and the tools and like the way that you communicate to the audience to bring them in to like really understand mental health. I mean, I watch you all the time.
And
I'm like, I want to be like her.
Shout out to my media guy, Josh. I gotta shout him out because he pushes me because I'd be like, I don't want to get in front of a camera. I don't like doing it. But I remember my professor being like, if you can't explain it to a third grader, you don't know it. So I try and like explain it to how I understand it, and it seems like a lot of people like gravitate towards it because we're not using like these big words. Because I even look at some of the big words and I'd be like, I can't pronounce that, and I'm not even gonna try.
Like the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not gonna do that. So I try and break it down to where people like again a third grade can understand it, and then a lot of people be like, that makes sense, or again relatable. It's a seed. I love using metaphors in my sessions, and when my clients, we'd be like,
yes.
So metaphors are big, and so yeah. Make it relatable.
I love that. Well, we are coming to the end. So if somebody does want to follow you, what is the best place for them to do that?
I am on Instagram, Hope Anchors the Soul 1712. I'm also on Facebook, same, Jolisa Castell, and then Hope Anchors the Soul. Yeah. My website, www.hopeanchorsthesoul.com.
Nice. Yes. Make sure you go check it out. There will be notes in the show notes that you can go to her website, but definitely if you need content that is relatable, I mean, I watch too, and it's just the way that you say it makes a lot of sense. So I just appreciate, one, you putting out the content, being vulnerable in front of the camera, but also as a part of the board and sharing your experience, because it's so valuable to have somebody on the board that is in the mental health space that like truly gets it, and you continue to add that education, which when you do the work, like it just, not that everybody has to have all the degrees, but when you do the work yourself, like it just makes it so much more valuable. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the board, even though I'm all the way in Florida and I come back here. And just this opportunity again, this was amazing, y'all.
Yay.
Make mental health matter.
Yes. Well, no matter what you do, make sure you come back next Monday. I go live every single Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m., whether you're watching on E360 TV or you're listening on Dream Vision 7 Radio. We will see you next week. Bye. Y'all.